Welcome to the Energy Pipeline Podcast. My name is Josh Lowrey. We are coming to you live from the Upright Digital Podcast Studio in the Prang Associates office in Houston, Texas. I am joined today with a special guest, Tyler Rice, who is the Pressure Control Sales Manager out of Colorado, who is in town to join us for this podcast today. Welcome, Tyler.
Good to be here.
You know, Tyler, I said that offline. That's the worst thing to do is the intro. You have to look at the camera. You have to say all this stuff. Usually I have a co-host with me. So then I have to introduce him and we talk for a minute and you got to still stay focused and get all the names right. I forgot to see, I screwed it up. You're with Caterpillar. I did. I left something out.
You did. Yeah. So, with Caterpillar, kind of managed the SPM oil and gas side of the business for pressure control and was from Colorado, lived there for a long time in oil and gas, but I currently live in the Permian in West Texas.
So, see, I screwed two things up. This is a tough start. I don't like doing the intro. I wish there was just like an intro I could hit go and just have it recorded, but this is part of being a pro.
Yeah, for sure.
So, by the way, you get into the Hall of Fame if you bat 300.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, what's one mistake at the beginning here? So, that's right. You live in the Permian. You lived in Colorado before.
That's correct, yeah.
We were talking offline, the Western Slope. So, I love Colorado.
Mm-hmm,
I absolutely love. So Lake City, that entire southwestern, the San Juan Mountains, isn't that just like the best version of Colorado that there is?
It is. It's exactly what people should think about when they think of Colorado. It's probably one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see on the planet. I might delete this because I don't want people finding out how great, especially Little Lake City. Like it's a 500-person town. Yeah.
And, they've got the ice climbing now. They're trying to get a bunch. Do you go fishing when you're up there? What do you do when you're there?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Fishing, really just like to hike, do the ATV trails, things like that.
Yeah.
Little side-by-side adventures. It's always a good time, right? Take the Jeep up.
Yeah.
Red Mountain, all that, Silverton, down to Durango. Like there's so much to do there, and it's beautiful country.
I heard you mention Uncompahgre. Have you hiked that before?
Oh, yeah.
Did you make it to the top?
Yeah. Top-ish.
It's up there.
Yeah,
that's a 14er. It's 14.3 actually.
Yeah. No.
Do you know how I know that it's 14.3?
Because you've done it.
Because I made it this summer.
There you go.
I did. I summited with my 14-year-old son. We went up, and that was one of his 14. That was his goal this summer. We went up and did it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, it's a good place.
Live to see it.
My wife and I used to love to even just hang out in Uray there, just that little, in the Box Canyon, and just enjoy being kind of tucked away from society for a bit. So it's a great place. Yeah.
We could talk about this the rest. By the way, they call Uray the Switzerland of North America.
It's not far off.
Yeah. We're going to delete this. I don't want people finding out how great this really is.
Right.
So then you move from there to Midland.
Yeah. So
welcome.
2015, 2016. We all know what kind of happened in oil and gas during those years.
Great years.
Tough times, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The oil and gas landscape in Colorado was getting more and more challenging. Activity was dropping kind of by the minute, it felt like. So next natural move was down to the Permian, where we know if you're going to be in oil and gas, you kind of have to do a little tour there. And again, that's where you're going to stay busy. So I kind of conned my wife into leaving the beautiful Colorado mountains and heading on down to the West Texas desert. So 2016, we ended up down in Midland, Texas. And, the further we drove as we were moving, she just kept asking me if there were going to be trees again. And I, just kind of said, yeah, eventually there will be some form of tree, but yeah, that's about it. So,
but you've been there 10 years.
Yeah.
That's a great run.
It's been a while. So it's really grown on us. And if you're going to be in oil and gas, the oil and gas community is amazing out there.
Do you know who Turner Phipps is by any chance?
I don't know Turner.
So Turner Phipps, he's now with a company called Kodiak, but he was with another group in oilfield services for a long time. He is, if a person says a bad thing about Midland, Turner, it's like he works for the Chamber of Commerce. He jumps all over it. He's like, what are you talking about? Why don't you like Midland?
Oh, natives, Midland natives especially. Like you definitely don't want to say anything, cross about Midland.
Absolutely,
yeah.
It is a great. I agree. It's a great town. I went to school in West Texas for college, and it is just nothing like a West Texas evening.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In the summer, for sure.
We we actually lived out southeast of town as a little bit of acreage, so a little bit outside of Midland. The reason we bought the place is because there's 500 acres of just mesquites behind our house. So we get beautiful sunsets to the west on our patio every single night, So and you can't beat it, And we'll constantly be sending videos to our friends, and it's just
in the city on their 5 o'clock traffic on the way home.
Oh yeah, we get to soak in every evening, after dinner, and No, it's we know Midland really grew on us, and
I'm glad to hear that.
there was a 2-year plan and turned into a 10-year plan, and we're not unhappy about that.
Well, no, and it doesn't sound. I mean, we're about to study. I learned a little bit about you. It doesn't sound like that's ending either.
No. As long as as long as there's action going out there, I like being where the rubber meets the road. And
Right.
yeah,
Well, speaking of that, so tell us what you're doing. You're with Caterpillar SPM.
that's correct.
But you have an extensive history in oil and gas here, and we don't have to go through all that. You can touch on some of that if you'd like. I would like to hear how you got to what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people, I ended up in oil and gas by accident. I just was having a hard time going to school, and from a financial standpoint, needed kind of a change. And I ran into a friend who was driving a really nice new car, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm working in the oil fields." I'm like, I didn't know anything about it, and I ran into him on the side of the road, literally. And he's like, "Do you want a job?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" I was making like $8 an hour trying to go to school and just struggling. And so really things happened very quickly. I drove to Evanston, Wyoming the next day from Salt Lake City, where I lived, and met with a guy and interviewed in a little bar there called Kate's. And he asked me if I could go to work the next day. And,
Really?
And I was like, yeah, that's...
What year was this?
This was 2000, very beginning of 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little while
Yeah,
ago.
that was...
Yep.
Drilling was booming in 2006.
Exactly, yeah. Jonah fields were kind of the new hot thing up in Wyoming there, right? The gas fields. So didn't have any idea what I was going to be doing. I told him, I was like, look, I didn't bring any clothes or anything. He's like, don't worry about that. We'll get you some coveralls. We'll get you some work boots and a hard hat, and then we'll put you up in the best Western in town, and you're going to meet a supervisor in the morning. And head up to Pinedale, Wyoming with him. I said, okay, well, sure. I mean, why not? Young single guy, I have nothing else to do. So I just did that. Jumped in the truck the next morning, drove straight to a location up in the Jonah field, and went straight to work.
You're kidding me, that fast?
That fast. And, I fell in love with it. The first, little hitch that I worked up there, I worked for about 6 weeks, didn't take a day off. Didn't see a reason to. I was learning so much.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. There was a ton going on. And so I just kept going until they basically said, hey, you need a break. You need to take a little time off. And I'm like, all right. So
that's awesome.
I went home, and my apartment was still there. It didn't disappear somehow or another. And
when you're a kid, you had nothing. What's in the apartment anyway? There wasn't food anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They could have destroyed everything I owned, and it was like $200. So
yeah, what's a piece of IKEA furniture?
Exactly. Right?
At best.
So, yeah, and from there, I love the industry, and I worked for a company at the time where they were involved in a lot of various aspects of oil and gas service. So I got to get a lot of experience on the frac side and workover completions, wireline, production, reservoir testing, and a lot of other different, types of services and offerings in the completion space primarily, but some downstream production as well, and some drilling, wellhead service or service wellhead and things like that. So moved up the chain, started out as just a hand swinging a sledgehammer and turning pipe wrenches and things like that, and became a site foreman and eventually a service manager, and ran service and operations for a number of years. Got burned out on that, and I came over to the commercial side of the business back in 2018.
Okay.
So.
All right. So 2018, and then you're in 2018, not a great... That was an okay bounce back year.
Yeah.
Go through that for 2 years. 2020 happens, another, kind of a black swan year. We talked a little bit off camera there. Everybody was geared for 2020 to be a boom year, and then it wasn't.
No, I mean, everyone knows the history there. It definitely was not. I mean, negative oil, and just we watched, rigs drop, frac crews drop. It was hard to survive, right? And we had to give pricing concessions 40-50% of what we were charging and billing, right, just to try to stay.
And I was going to say, that's if anything was going on.
If anything, right?
Right.
That was just to try to survive and keep the lights on, keep some guys working, keep some crews up and going, right? So it was a very tough year. But like we were talking about off camera, coming out of 2020 was probably one of the best times to be in oil and gas. I feel like, because it has just been, flying by the seat of your pants ever since then, right? So we essentially come out of that, and then frac crews and rigs are just stacking up deploying like crazy, right? And on top of that, we had this very challenging year or two where we had to get extremely economical and efficient. What are we doing? So the technology deployment and innovation over the last 5 years has just been almost hard to keep up with, right?
I agree with this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, look, it was awful. Mm-hmm. It was awful. But then it's a weird thing. There's a lot of good people that are no longer in the industry. They've moved on to other things, or they're just retired or whatever happened.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, here comes new technology. that did not exist. And that's kind of where we are. I was reading some stuff about you. By the way, have you met your marketing department at Caterpillar?
Yeah.
They're
fantastic.
Do they yell at you like they yell at me?
No, they're a little nicer to me because they usually need things from me. So,
They're amazing, by the way.
They're great.
You should see the notes they've sent me. They're very organized. There's no way I always screw this up. I always ask for forgiveness versus permission. I'm like, I'm sorry that you guys they're so organized. I'm like, have you met me? I'm good at, I might get 2 or 3 things, but they're so good at this stuff. So I want to make sure I do address some of this stuff without screwing it up.
Sure.
But it's less about the specifics here. I do want to talk about it, but just like in the theme of post 2020 was how to be efficient.
Yep.
And with fewer people, with more, more oil, more gas.
Do more with less.
Correct. But that's what you guys are doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, we recognize that early on, and that's one of the reasons, that's the biggest part of my role in my job, right? So I help with the commercial business and the strategy and the sales effort, but another big part of my role is new product development, new product commercialization, rollout.
Okay.
Trying to think, not only catch up to just how fast the industry is moving, but think 5 years down the road and what's it going to look like for the frac industry moving forward, right?
Okay.
So,
I've been very impressed with Caterpillar's forward thinking on a company that big to be how far out they actually do think and move, how quickly they can move.
Yeah, exactly. Our senior leadership had a couple of, being our 100th anniversary this year, there was one thing that really resonated with me was that, we have to kind of really be proud of what we've done to get through the first 100 years, but we also have to start thinking about the next 100. How does Caterpillar going to be around 100 years from today, right? So, and I love that mindset.
Have they addressed that internally like that?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the internal messaging to the team, right? Like we have to be thinking, customer back, and we have to be thinking innovation. Like where are we going to be at 100 years from now? How does Caterpillar still come out on top and be, one of the top really companies in the world, not just in oil and gas. So they encourage innovation across the board at every level.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys come out of 2020. It's more with less, new technology. By the way, you can have a great idea and the technology not be there to implement it, right?
That's right.
There is more broadband. There's more computing power. There's more, just the average worker today can do things they couldn't do 20 years ago, or I say couldn't, but is doing more with computing power than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the things that you're involved in now that you weren't involved in 10 years ago that you're like, man, this is really cool. Look at what we're doing now.
Yeah. The evolution has been a wild ride, right? So if anyone who worked in frac 10, 15 years ago probably remembers what a frac site looked like. You go out there and you'd have traditional flow line, which is like 3-inch or 4-inch pipe that would be strung all over the place.
Dangerous.
Oh yeah, it'd almost be chaotic. You'd have all these temporary unionized connections all over the place, and the requirement for labor was different. You'd see an entire van full of frac hands come out that their sole job was just swinging hammers and keeping all that iron tight, chasing leaks. Shutting down a frac job was not uncommon to go out and replace an O-ring or hammer up a union. It happened constantly, right? So it was very inefficient. And, when zipper fracking and these big multi-well pads really started to take off about a decade ago, things had to change. We had to go to this linear pressure control model where we're using, big bore, 7-inch, 5-inch or 7-inch iron, where essentially it's more robust. We're using semi-permanent connections, API 6A flanges, right? Things like that, to get away from this spaghetti string looking location and really put everything in just this straight linear path and a big inch iron that's more reliable and robust, and get rid of all that downtime. That also reduces labor requirements on site. So, SPM was at the forefront of that. They were one of the early adopters of the big inch iron, the large bore missile, we call it, right? So we have our 7-inch large bore missile, and of course that's continued on all the way through the frac stacks and down to the wellbore itself. So,
I'm in my notes here. I've got some stuff called linear pressure control systems. I understand the name linear pressure. Is that something you guys are calling this internally?
That's more internal. I know it's kind of a boring way to call it, right? But essentially it's just...
No, I totally understand. Conceptually, I get it.
Yeah.
Because when you describe the chaos, I actually think you soft sold the chaos 5-10 years ago, right?
Sure, yeah.
It really, to the average person, if you looked at this, you're like, what is all this? And then there's ropes tying it together.
Oh, yeah. Restraints all over the place. It was extremely labor intensive. And then you couldn't even walk through there because it was just a massive trip hazard. It was unsafe,
Absolutely.
And if you could see water spraying up from somewhere, and sometimes you'd have to really go into this red zone to try to find out where this leak was coming from, because there are hundreds of connections.
Right.
So linear The linear model really reduced all the connections by over 80% and just
really 80%. See, like that's a huge number.
Huge, yeah.
That is a huge. People don't realize that. Like if you really broke down, I'm sure you guys have broken down, like how many, like the safety numbers behind 80%.
Oh yeah, it's massive.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like how many people don't have to risk walking out there? How many people don't have to risk something exploding?
Exactly. Yeah, you can. The guys don't even have to go into the red zone anymore, right? So it used to have to. Someone would be leaking. A lot of times they'd be bleeding off really fast. The guy might walk into the red zone before they get fully bled off. I mean, it was just chaos, and we don't want to put people in those situations anymore, right? So we try to think, how do we do things efficiently? But the most important thing is how do we not get anyone hurt? How do we keep people out of that danger zone, right? So 80% is a big number, and if you have
it's a huge number.
And then the connections that still exist today are with a much more robust flange connection. It's like a semi-permanent connection. So leaks on those type of connections are very few and far between.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's other questions I want to ask, but I can't get over it because, again, coming from the forging world, closed die, open die, etc. When you think about the amount of volume that we used to sell for the hammer unions and all the different line pipe there, I wonder what those numbers look like today, because I haven't been in that business in 5+ years. I bet the numbers are significantly lower.
It's definitely significantly lower. We still manufacture and sell quite a bit of that unionized flow iron.
Yeah.
So we still manufacture.
I said line pipe. I meant flow iron. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. And we still sell a lot of it, and we still manufacture a lot of it, but not compared to 10 years ago numbers.
Right.
It's the industry's and our business has pivoted over to this other model, right? So just kind of trading one sales stream for another.
Where can people learn about the linear? I'm sure that's all over your website.
Oh yeah, all over SPM's website. So SPM Oil and Gas, and you can drill down into any of the other landing pages, and we'll have stuff all over pressure control for our missile.
I would love to see a before and an after.
We should put that up. I don't know if that's up there now.
That'd be really cool to see that, because again, to the average person, I don't think they'd understand the difference between the two.
Oh yeah, especially if you get like a little bird's eye view of just the pure chaos that those pads used to be, right? So
yes,
yeah,
you show that to someone's husband or wife that, like, this is where I used to have to go, this is where I have to go today.
Exactly.
And see which one they want you going to.
Well, and it used to take a week to rig these things up. You know what I mean?
That's a good point too.
Now we're doing it in hours.
See, that's another metric that I would love to hear all the numbers, safety numbers and hours saved. Where does that person get to go be productive now?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So, and it's kind of like a higher grade, labor force at this point. Like we have, we're able to have higher skilled, higher trained people on site, because now they're really responsible for kind of a bigger scope, for more technical scope, especially as we transition to automation and some of the things that the industry is pivoting to today.
Yep.
We really are requiring a lot more than a guy going out with a sledgehammer and just hammering up unions, right? So we're asking a lot more. We're training them a lot more in depth. They're getting a lot more technical knowledge, and of course, it comes with bigger salaries, better jobs.
Well, you have not seen my notes, and I will tell you right now that you just led to where I wanted to go.
Perfect.
Because what that asks is, if they're not doing that, what are they doing now? And you guys have new technology. Again, I'm not trying to turn this into a commercial, but I do want to understand, because ultimately we talked about offline, what does the widget do? Mm-hmm. Great, cool that you got a better widget, but what is that really doing? Yeah. Is that making that person's life better, safer, faster, et cetera, more productive? And you're saying, well, not only is it making it all those things, here's what this person gets to do now.
Yeah.
And truly, you have the safe edge linear. It's creating a new foundation for today's frac pads. Like, what does that mean in practice?
Yeah, exactly. It means better jobs, right? So it means higher skilled jobs, more sought after jobs, and ultimately it means we get to continue doing what we're doing as a business. We're not going to have as much pressure on us anymore for cost control and all these metrics, because we're improving efficiency to the point where everyone's it's a win-win situation. Like, we get to establish, stand up a new business on our end that's better for our employees. We can have higher grade employees, higher grade technicians. The end user, the customer, really gets to put more wells on production every year, gets to complete a job safer, which is good for both of us once again, right?
And the environment and everybody.
Yeah, it's better for the environment. We have lower risk of any type of environmental exposure, right? So ultimately, it's just a win-win across the board. And then it lets us be forward thinking, like we talked about earlier, right? So if we've already kind of address the safety issues, we're taking people away from the hazards, we're trying to give these higher grade type higher skill labor jobs in there. Like now it lets us think about, okay, now how do we make it even better? How do we improve our customers' bottom line? How do we create an easy button for them, right? What can we do at the end of the day that's not only going to make our lives better and easier, it's going to continue to grow our business, but our customer is going to want to come to us, right? Because we just show up, we improve their economics, they're getting significantly more wells on production every year. It's really a win-win.
So if you're the sales manager here, so I'm customer.
Mm-hmm.
How are you approaching me with that? Just the way you just did?
Yeah, just like that. And also a lot of times they're coming to us, right? Because there's a lot of challenges in the industry right now for those things like improved efficiencies. I'm sure you've heard of things like Simul Frac, right? So, zipper fracking, we talked about earlier, where we used to have multi-well pads. That was kind of the first iteration of that evolution, right? During that general roadmap. The next thing was Simul fracking. So fracking 2 wells simultaneously. So now we have 2 pumping crews on location that were actually simultaneously fracking 2 wells at the same time. Now we get requests for 3 wells, 4 wells, trimul fracking, quad fracking. Wow. So these jobs keep getting bigger. We're not just fracking 1 pad anymore. We might be fracking 2 adjacent pads at the same time with these type of large setups. So our customers come to us with a lot of these challenges, and it's like, all right, here's what we want to do, and it's always bigger.
Yeah, correct. And sounds very much like the old business.
Exactly. And so luckily at Cat, we're well positioned, Cat SPM to kind of meet those challenges, So we love it when those requests come to us. It's like we go to the drawing board. Sometimes it's a whiteboard meeting in a room or whatever it may be, and we sit down with the customer and we get aligned and we figure out exactly how they want to achieve this goal, and we make it happen. Do they like your experience having been out on the rigs before? Sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think you can really do what we're doing if you haven't actually done the job, right? I think that's a big part of it, and that's one thing that I'm grateful for is my time in the field. Well, that's when you came on before we started the interview, I asked you, are you one of the Cat guys that's been moved around? And because Cat does a good job of moving people. I say Cat. By the way, I got in trouble for saying Cat. Actually, I called you guys Big Cat the other day. They didn't like that. But I mean, Caterpillar does a good job of moving people from mining to oil and gas to, industrial, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So it is unique's not the right word, but I mean, you are a person who is an oil and gas guy. That's right. Yeah. So I imagine when you show up to a meeting, they're like, hey, I wasn't in mining. Not that there's anything wrong with being in mining, but you know what I mean? But I mean to say, no, I'm actually you. Yeah. I've been here. I did this for 20 years. Exactly. Yeah. No, I love it. And I think that's, I wasn't one of the guys that we were with Cat because I have not been with Cat for a very long time. I worked for a competitor of Cat's actually for a lot of years. But Cat recruited me over for that reason. They wanted somebody to be able to come in who had that large kind of breadth of experience and could help, navigate what we're going through in the industry right now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what do you think when you say going through in the industry? What do you think you're on the ground up there? What are we going through in the industry? Yeah, so obviously that's a big question. It's a big question because no one has a crystal ball, and it's just this last year alone has just been so up and down. And I mean, I think it's pretty hard to predict what's going to happen, over the next year or 2 years, even 6 months down the road. But ultimately, we know at the end of the day, we're going to improve economics for our customer as much as we can. So. A lot of that's going to fall back on this automation piece that we were talking about before, right? There's a demand for that. Obviously, AI is a big kind of a buzz term right now, and everyone's keeping an eye on how AI is going to improve the future. On that note, I mean, I'm in Houston, sure, so I hear AI all the time. That's the word. Mm-hmm. You're in Midland. Are you hearing it as much as I am? Probably not as much as you are. Okay. But ultimately, yeah, everyone's always asking how is this going to improve our business, or can it improve our business, right? So. And we're really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of it first, the hardware piece, the automation piece, the process part of the whole, what on a frac job, for example, what can we do from a process standpoint, from an automated standpoint, before we introduce AI to really improve the process and get to where the customer wants to be. And then once we have that figured out, the next, iteration of that and part in the evolutionary cycle is going to be, okay, now how do we take AI and implement it into that system and make it just that much better? How do we make it more intuitive, more intelligent? How do we tie preventative maintenance to these type of things, right? So, okay. On that note, I'm a frac guy. When I think frac, I think fluid ends. Yep. Frac pumps. Are you getting involved in that as well? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, obviously SPM, we, like we talked about earlier, do a lot on the pump side, right? So, pumps traditionally on a frac site, you have to shut down for maintenance, in between stages, whatever, that pull a pump out. They have to replace seats, valves, whatever. So really what we're trying to work on now is like with this automation piece is how do we get this perpetual pumping that we're trying to achieve, right? So rather than pumping 20 hours a day of uptime for frac or 22 or 23, like how do we go 200 hours, right? How do we do that? And the question always comes back to the pumps. Well, the pumps are the first thing to go, right? The wear and tear, it's just, you can't prevent it, right? You're going to have to replace valves and seats. There's going to have to be some PM done. There's going to have to be some repair done. So how do we do it without shutting the job down? So the answer is, well, we're going to develop this configuration. We're going to push on our large bore missile and we're going to kind of change where the red zone's at. We're going to use automation to isolate and bleed off a compartment where these frac pumps are so we can actually come offline and,
for the product, for the pump, if you will.
That's exactly right.
And then keep everything else moving.
Yeah, so we can do online pump maintenance without having to shut down the job, right? So pump maintenance is never going to go away. Consumables are going to be gone through on site. Like it's just part of the business. But we want to be able to take that out of the critical path of the operation as much as possible, right? So at the end of the day, we want slurry going down that wellbore. We want fluid going into the formation as much time as possible throughout the 24-hour period.
I mean, listen, I want to talk about fluid ends exclusively. That's I could spend, that's what I told, every once in a while we get somebody like you on that I mean, again, my favorite joke of all time was when the guy told me if I could get his fluid in to last 900 hours, he'd give me all of his business.
Right.
And like, that was the goal, 900 hours.
Yeah.
If I told you that today, you'd be like, how'd you get in the door?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's how long we've been doing this, and that wouldn't even get you in the door these days, right? I know there's the automation and the technology and the steel and the metallurgy and just all of it has changed so much. But it's interesting to know that you guys can continuous pumping happens, taking the pump offline without shutting it all down.
Yeah. Yeah, and the economics that are insane.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Right, like our customers, we have some customers have gone 170 hours without shutting down a job, and the only reason we shut down was for Mother Nature, right, lightning or something like that. So it's been wild to see. If you'd asked me 5 years ago if we'd be doing that, there's no way I would have guessed we would have, right? And the feedback too is that some of our customers are saying they're coming in like 30% under cost on some of these project costs, right? Because of these economics. And
this is in the Permian.
Yeah, in the Permian. So if you think about a pad that used to take, say, 30 days to frac this entire site, right? And now we're doing it in like 12 to 14 days.
That's amazing feedback, by the way.
Yeah.
30%.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's just the stuff that we've kind of had some high level visibility to. I'm sure when you start looking at all the ancillary stuff coming in and extra wells on production every year, the pad to pad cycle times, like everything included, I would imagine that the economics are probably even better than that. I don't know. I don't have full visibility of that, but again, we keep getting asked about it and it continues to trend that direction. So I have to assume that it's doing very well.
Do you cover anything but the Permian?
Yep. Permian, Northeast.
Okay.
So we do some stuff out in the Northeast.
So my question is then, are you seeing similar numbers in the Northeast as well?
The Northeast is not quite caught up to what we're doing in the Permian yet, right? So a little different region, a little different environment. They've adopted some of the new technology, automated valve control, sure, but not like a continuous pumping model so much. They're not doing the simul fracking and stuff like that out there. It's more like traditional zipper fracking. So their pads do go longer. They're not, but the Northeast is typically a couple steps behind the Permian as far as just like trend when it comes to trends like that.
I can see that.
So I imagine as the word starts to spread, obviously like things tend to do, that we'll start to see adoption.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, that's why I asked that, because I would imagine that to get 30% numbers out of the Permian is amazing.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that in the Permian where everything is already refined and tight, everything, where things are more refined and tighter than other locations, what happens when the other locations that aren't like that catch up?
Yeah.
What does 30% look like in the Northeast?
Yeah. And
I bet it's massive.
It's got to be. And one can only speculate, right? But again, like...
I love to speculate.
Exactly. Yeah.
I live in the world of it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and if things don't work, then people won't do it. But if the trend is upward and onward, then it's gonna be adopted eventually industry wide. And we start to see the same things globally, right? We start to see some of this technology being asked about and adopted in places like the Middle East, right? Or even so when this stuff starts to spread, and especially when you hear guys in the private equity space start to talk about it, like they all kind of know each other in a sense,
sure.
Right? So
Real quick, what do you mean that they're doing it in the Middle East? Are they asking about it in the Middle East?
Yeah, so not as far as like the simul-fracking and automation stuff. We have had
but linear stuff, I would imagine.
But the linear stuff, yeah. So like the large bore missiles and linear frac stacks and all that jazz. Like we started deploying that over the last couple of years over some of the Middle Eastern areas, and as well as North Africa, even China.
Have you been over there to see this stuff in action yet?
I have not had the luxury. So a couple of my employees have gotten to go over there, and I'm jealous. But good on them. They had a good time over there.
Well, listen, it's going to settle down, and when it does, you should go.
Yeah.
And because first of all, the area is totally misunderstood. Sure. I say that in the middle of whatever conflict is going on right now, but the people are fantastic. We've done business over there for 20 years. I absolutely love it. I hate what's happening because there's so many good people over there doing so many good things that they're just like us. Oh, yeah. They just want to do a good job at their job. And I can imagine that I know this to be true. I mean, the new technologies that we have, they want those too. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about that. And I agree. I hope things calm down soon, and so we can all just get back to focused on on important things in life.
Yeah. Well, it is. I was wondering if the linear stuff had made its way over to the Middle East yet, but it sounds like it has.
It definitely has.
It is working its way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Business is a little tricky over there right now, but we've got friends that are. I mean, they're still working.
Still working.
They're just quietly right now. Yeah. All right. What so. The linear is taking off. The technologies, I cannot get over that 30% number.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what all that entails, but again, it makes sense when you start thinking about just in the completion time alone of a job. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it comes from that. Reduce labor, just reduce NPT. Overall, I think there's like a holistic view where it's really not that surprising when you think about it.
Well, I'm gonna challenge the marketing department because I know they're listening to this. I would love to overlay a before and after of the spread of 10 years ago, if you will, of versus today to see like the cleanliness, the safety. Again, even if like I don't want to put 30% number on that particularly. I know that's not what we're talking about exactly, but it definitely sets the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're trying to do something with that type of excellence, is probably a great word, right? Clean house, clean operation. Everything else flows from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great representation of like, look, even this was working, wasn't working well enough. And we said, how can we make this? I mean, I'm speaking for you guys on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really speaking for our friends in the industry.
Yeah.
Let's bring them home safely.
Absolutely.
With all their limbs and, all that stuff. I always think about that. Like, it's really easy to sit in a nice podcast studio and talk about oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the one out on the floor.
Right.
I'm not the one really putting myself in danger so I can touch a button and the lights come on.
That's exactly right.
And I want to always remember those people.
Mm-hmm.
That's really who's out there doing the really difficult work.
That's right.
So I'm curious to know what that actually looks like. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good challenge. I think we should definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you doing over there that I need to know about, Tyler?
I think that kind of hits the highlights, like
you're on the greatest podcast ever. So in the greatest studio ever. So we could talk about March Madness, which starts today, by the way.
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
Man, I am not a big basketball fan.
Nobody is.
Yeah.
You could have said Duke. And you'd have been safe.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about things I don't know a lot about. You know what I mean?
So that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
You want to talk about physics?
Ooh, I could talk a little physics.
Oh, crap. I don't know anything about it. That was a joke because I'm in real trouble. I don't know anything about physics.
Depends on if you're going to talk physics or quantum physics.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, I'm in trouble, dude. No, listen, we were at a conference this week and they were asking all the speakers at the very end of their presentations, all right, well, who's going to win the national championship for March Madness? And 75% of the people, Duke. And I thought, they have no idea. These guys are busy just like you. Like you have a family, I'm sure. You have work going on. You're not watching college basketball.
No, the bandwidth is pretty limited.
Exactly. I'm just going to say Houston because I think they're top 5. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any idea. So yeah, my world is like you said, just low bandwidth.
Yep.
But I am going to fill out a bracket, see how it goes this year because it's always fun. March Madness is a fun.
It definitely makes it fun. I mean, yeah. I don't see why not, right?
Yeah. All right. So the world of frac has changed in your 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The world, everything's changed. What do you want people to, if you could this is your moment. You're about to be famous. So before you become famous, you have to make what's the word I'm looking for? You have to tell the people something that they don't know that they should know about oil and gas that's going to happen in the next couple of years that you wish you would have known or that you would like them to know. You didn't expect this.
Did not expect this.
No. That's why it's the best ever.
Yeah. No, I think what everybody needs to be cognizant of and start to plan for is that these entire frac sites, as complicated as they're going to be, and really not just frac, I think the operation as a whole, we're going to start to get to a place where we're going to be able to control these entire complex sites, I think, remotely from an office in Houston, for example, from a computer screen or a tablet.
I agree with that.
I think that there's going to be a lot of, we're always going to need people. We're always going to need good people in the industry, right? So, but I think that number is going to, or it's going to get to a point where there's more people focused on the digital control and the digital front than necessarily the manual labor front out in the field, right? We're always going to have to install this equipment, rig it up. There's always going to be a need for that, and we're going to need talent for that. But I think the future of the oil and gas industry is going to be remote control, right? I think that everything's
Isn't that wild?
It's wild to think about. It's hard to think about. There's already people that are doing that to kind of dipping their toe in that water today. And you have cameras on sites and sitting in a control center in Houston or Austin, Texas, or wherever you want to be, right? You don't have to have guys on location anymore, which is a nice perk. Not everyone wants to live in the Permian. I personally love it, but some people want to live in Houston.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that go with it.
Sure. So yeah, I think that's going to be what to look out for, and then how AI kind of integrates with that, right? How do we get more like intuitive and this intelligent type design? I think it's going to go all the way down to the reservoir and frac designs are going to completely be, programmed into these type of systems where everything that goes on a frac site is actually going to be done because of the design of from the reservoir engineer, from AI or whatever. I think it's all going to communicate together and be one seamless process.
I think that last thing you just said is absolutely going to blow people's minds.
It is, yeah. Because we're going to have a design, we're going to have a frac design for however many wells on a site or maybe in a field, right?
Yeah, the AI aspect of that, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think AI is going to be able to take all that frac design is going to be able to optimize it. And then it's actually ultimately going to determine how this equipment on surface, our equipment, operates, right? So our system will intelligently be able to, work off of that data or off of those inputs. And actually, that's exactly how it'll all function in tandem with the pumps and everything going on site, right? So obviously, that's not where we're at today, but I think that's where we're going.
I don't disagree with you. Those are some good. That last one I think is. I remember going and touring National Oil Well before it became National Oil Well Varco, and they had a rig set up in their lobby, a virtual rig, and like here's what we were doing. And they had somebody just operating it at the time. Yeah, this is probably 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. It felt like you were in the future.
Yeah,
I could not believe what I was looking at. I just thought, what in the world is this thing? Like this will never happen. What do you mean this guy's doing a virtual cabin, on the drilling rig?
Yeah.
And he's like, this is happening right now. And he was. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, there's no way, and that's what's happening now, is they're doing that stuff all over the place.
All over the place, man. And I think it's just going to continue to go that direction. But again, taking people out of the red zone, it's not a bad thing. And the efficiencies the metrics are just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that's going to continue to be the case.
Do you get down to Fort Worth to SPM often?
Oh, yeah, often. So I go down there pretty regularly. I'll be down there next week.
Okay. Yeah. Fort Worth is great, isn't it?
I love Fort Worth.
I love Fort Worth.
Great area.
Oh, I love it. I think it's my favorite town in Texas.
I never get tired of going down to stockyards and having dinner or whatever. It's just love Fort Worth area.
They've done a great job with all that. Like the Drover in that little area, they've changed that up. We used to go to the stockyards when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. It did not look like that.
No,
it was not as nice as it is now. Yeah, so no, they've changed that whole area up. But listen, this has been great.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with?
No, if anyone wants to know more, you can find me on LinkedIn or at our website, spmoilandgas.com.
Did my work for me. I like that.
And outside of that, I'm happy to start up a conversation with anybody.
Okay. Tyler Rice, the pressure control sales manager living in Midland, not Colorado, but should they find you in Colorado this summer on the mountains,
It's possible.
Yes, I'll be there.
Yeah.
You can look for me. By the way, you should look me up when you're up there.
Will do.
It's a great place. We'll go climb Kilimanjaro with you. Or not Kilimanjaro, excuse me. Uncompahgre. So, but my son wants to climb Kilimanjaro. That's one of his life goals. That's, I think, 19,000 feet. That's up there.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
Yeah, that's pretty high up. So, Caterpillar, thank you for your support. If you guys have any questions, as he mentioned, look to you guys up, Caterpillar Oil and Gas. Caterpillar does a phenomenal job of being able to index their podcast. So that on their website, you can go look up any subject that we've talked about. We try to make these things non-commercial because, listen, we always tell people there's a widget, and what does the widget do for you? So, but if you do want to learn more about specifically linear or the smart, what is it called? The Safe Edge Arc. These are technologies that they do need to learn about. Look you up, get a hold of Tyler. If you have any questions for us, any of our social media channels, if you have any complaints, send those to Andy McDowell. If you have anything that sounds great, send those to me. Tyler, thank you. You flew in just for this, is what I heard.
I did, yeah.
Great. What do you think? Best podcast you've ever been on?
Oh, yeah. Best podcast I've ever been on.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.